had no venue and no date and no idea, and all of a sudden I'm posting a dress that I tried on Instagram. I'm of the firm belief that you can do whatever you want. You don't need to follow a sort of path. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are talking all things wedding. We are finally talking about my wedding budget, how I really feel about having a wedding, if I'm gonna have a wedding, all of the costs and everything to do with the wedding. So if you want to see that, then just keep on watching. If you're new here, hi, my name is Reza. I primarily talk about my personal finances, my small business, and sometimes luxury goods. And lately I've been talking about weddings because I recently got engaged. I will have that linked over here if you haven't seen it yet, but I didn't know what I was going to get into, and it's kind of crazy over here. So if you're wedding planning and you're feeling the same way, I am right there with you. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I think I'm going to make this video just like as honest as I can be about this whole process. Like, I'll kind of walk you guys through everything that I'm feeling very authentically, and I'll try not to hold anything back, but these are just how I've really been feeling about having a wedding. Mind you, I got engaged 2 months ago at this point now. We're filming in the middle of July, actually less than 2 months ago, so a month and a bit. The first thing I'll say is there is this like societal pressure almost that like a week or 2 weeks after you get engaged, instead of people saying congratulations, then first thing that they'll say is, when's the wedding? How is wedding planning going? And for someone to just like go through that phase, it's really interesting, is kind of like what I'm noticing. First 2 weeks, everyone's saying congratulations. No one's really asking about the wedding yet. People are asking how the engagement happened, etc., etc. And then the conversation shifts. The next time I see that person, it's, when is the wedding? What are you guys thinking about the wedding? Have you started wedding planning yet? What are your thoughts? And I kind of assumed that would be the case, but just like feeling it and like being the person being asked, especially the person being asked who isn't necessarily like jazzed up to be planning a wedding. And I'll tell you guys why I'm not jazzed to plan a wedding. Yeah, it's just interesting. And it's almost like a pressure from society to be like, why aren't you already thinking about that? And it's just very, very interesting. So that's like my initial first thought. Not to say that I hate it, but I'm just like, there's not even like a break. It's almost like, congrats, and when's the wedding? Because of that, I was kind of forced to be like, okay, I really need to start looking into this. And my partner and I have talked about it, and we both don't want a long engagement. I know people have a year and a half or 2 years into their engagement, then they get married. I asked my partner, when is your ideal day? He's like, I could marry you tomorrow, which is so sweet. And he explained that like he doesn't need it to be a long engagement. There's like no reason for it to be, just because we've both been living together for many years now, and it just almost feels like we're already married. So after the wedding, like nothing crazy will change. Just, I know people maybe don't live together and then they get married and then they move in, etc. Like we already passed that phase. We've already actually purchased a home together. Like we've done all the like milestones that some couples do after they get married. So to us, it's like, you know, there's no there's no point in waiting, just because we're not really waiting for anything. My initial thought at that is like, oh, it would be kind of cool to get married on like the same day, like a year later from the engagement. So that would be in May, which that is like my favorite time of the year, just because it's his birthday, then it's my birthday, and it's almost summer, like it's the end of spring. So to me, that is just like such a beautiful time, but I also don't want to force it. So to me, like a year or less than a year engagement would be like ideal probably. So I don't need it to be a long engagement. And I was chatting with someone who had an engagement for about a year and a half or 2 years, and they were telling me that the reason is because they had to save up some money, or that the logistics, like let's say they were going to Italy or Lake Como to go get married, and that's like a whole thing. There's a waiting period. They have a venue in mind, and that venue is booked up until a certain time. So I totally get why people wait longer if there is like considerations like that. But for us, I don't think that there is. When we started to even think about wedding planning, we were all over the place. And the reason for that is because we are both from Toronto. So we've moved to Vancouver 7 or 8 years ago now, and majority of our family and friends are in Toronto. So logistically, it probably makes sense if we want a whole bunch of people to attend to just go to Toronto, because it's just us who needs to fly there versus them flying here, and it's very expensive here. We also floated around like, why not have the wedding in Vancouver, because then it could be smaller and it would just be like immediate family. And really, this Vancouver is such a beautiful place to get married. Like, it's at this point home for us. So that is also another consideration. And then the other consideration is, could we go do it somewhere else? Like, not Toronto, not Vancouver, maybe do like a Mexico thing. And yeah, that's also another thing that was kind of floated around. So those 3 options were all on the table. We even floated around Copenhagen, just because if you know Copenhagen, it's kind of like the Las Vegas of Europe, where anyone can get married at any time. Like, they're very, very much like Las Vegas vibes, but in like a cool chic way, not like the Vegas way, if you know what I mean. But that was on the table at one point. And there was just so many considerations to the point where I got, personally, I don't want to speak for my partner, but I was overwhelmed because I couldn't make a decision. I almost just needed someone to be like, okay, you're gonna get married here, and then that's when I can go deep into it of like, okay, I'm getting married at X, let me figure out all of the details. Like, that is how my brain works. But for all of those options to be on the table, and I'm like, I can't even pick one. Like, each one has its own pros and cons. Someone picked for me, basically. So that was overwhelming. And over the last few weeks, I think what I've been doing personally is just taking it day by day. Like, we're not talking about the wedding or wedding planning every single day. Like, that is crazy to me. And the reason why I say it's crazy to me, and why all of this just feels overwhelming, and why I'm not feeling jazzed up to plan a wedding, is because I have so many things on my brain already. I've got this YouTube channel, I've got a small business, I've got my 9 to 5, I've got my personal relationships, I've got my health and my mental. Like, all of that are things that I am prioritizing and have been prioritizing over the last few years, and have just been so happy with like where I've been, where I've gotten to, and all the progress that I've made, just learning about myself, self-development, self-discovery, etc. That putting or adding a wedding and thinking about a wedding in that already sort of like overcapacity brain, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm not gonna let any of those things go, because all of those things that I just mentioned are also important to me, right? Like, I'm not gonna not work my small business because I need to make time for this. Obviously, that's important to me. I'm not gonna not do my 9 to 5, obviously. And I want to prioritize YouTube and my mental health and my physical health and my personal relationships. So there's just not really a lot of space up there for much else. And I know wedding planning will take a whole bunch of space if I even give it a little bit. So, and I know there's wedding planners and all of that stuff, but realistically, not that I wouldn't get a wedding planner, maybe I'll get like a day of coordinator or something like that if I go something big. But yeah, it's just not in my nature, because I'm such a planner person that I wouldn't want to release that sort of responsibility to someone else, just because, I don't know, I change my mind so often. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm annoying someone with like all the different changes that could happen every single day. Things haven't really been moving along. With that said though, there is things that still pull me into wedding planning. Like, there's bits and pieces of it that excite me. For example, I tried on wedding dresses the other day just for fun, just to see what I like. And if those things look good on my body, I'll have it linked over here. That was a lot of fun. The girl who was helping me was amazing, and it was so low effort because the shop was actually a 5 or 10 minute walk away from where I live, in the same neighborhood as me. And I'm like, let me just walk in there. It was very low effort to do, and I wanted to go do that, just to be like, okay, I'm imagining this dress, I see it on the website, let me just see if I can try it on, and they had it. So those things, like, I'm happy to do. And it was funny because someone called me out, a friend of mine on Instagram is like, this went from 0 to 100 because I was just telling her that I had no venue and no date and no idea, and all of a sudden I'm posting a dress that I tried on Instagram, and she's not wrong. Like, crazy of me to do that, because I know some people are like, I must have my venue, I must have my date before I even try on dresses, because that dictates, the venue dictates the dress, etc. I'm of the firm belief that you can do whatever you want. You don't need to follow a sort of path, because some people on the internet are saying do this first, do that first. No, do whatever you want first. If Cartier was closer to me, I mean, it is pretty close, but like, I would try on wedding bands now already. Like, there's no rules. Those things like trying on wedding bands and trying on wedding dresses are so low effort to me, just to be like, I'm gonna try it on. I want to see if it looks good. And it doesn't matter that I don't have a venue or a date or anything like that. So yeah, that's my current mindset. And it could change. It honestly could change. I'm filming this in July, and things will change likely, because that's how life goes as the months come along. But I want to tell you guys where I'm at with like my wedding budget, because a lot of you guys, I mean, obviously it's a personal finance channel, and I want to show you guys how I've been thinking about budgeting for a wedding if I have a wedding. So let's go to my computer and I will show you that. Hello and welcome to my wedding budget spreadsheet. If you are curious about the spreadsheet and are planning your own wedding, I'll have it linked down below. Essentially, you guys can see all the big numbers in here, but I want to take you through this exercise that I did with thinking about budgeting for a wedding. We have already identified all of the categories that you will likely spend on for your wedding, which is this section over here. So everything is categorized and it's the different types of things. If you have any notes here, and then the actual budget that you want to set. And it's basically an exercise of putting down a budget for each little thing that you're gonna spend money on. There's obviously extra space if there's anything that was missed or just anything additional. And then once you input all of those numbers, a big total budget will come out at the top here, which you can see. And it's a shocking number. I will tell you guys how we got there. So we'll go through each individual line item for the budget, and I want you guys to see how quickly it adds up. And that's one of the reasons why I'm like, whoa, I need to just pause, because I was not expecting this amount. But I want to show you guys what I'm thinking of spending for this wedding. So these are fake dates. This is not the real date. This is my real name and my partner's real name. And the wedding venue is tentative. So this budget is made for this specific wedding venue. Bricks and Mortar is a restaurant here in Vancouver. I have always seen people get married there, and it is such a like chic little space. They have a courtyard that has like exposed brick walls, and just the decorations are already so beautiful that you can add your own, but you can also just stay with what they already have. And yeah, I've seen people over the years that I've lived here just like have weddings there, and I never really obviously thought anything much about that until I started looking for venues, and I emailed them and they gave me some numbers. So these are the real numbers for that wedding venue specifically, but this is just an idea. Again, lots floating around, but this is one idea that I kind of went a little bit deep on if I was to get married here in Vancouver. Okay, so first thing is your invitations. Wedding invitations I put at 0. I am working on wedding invitations for my small business, just like templates that anyone can use. I put this at 0 because I'm imagining it to just be a like, I don't know, a virtual one. So I don't think I'm spending money on like stationery itself. I should say all of the numbers are pretty conservative. And if I'm like, I'm not spending money on that, like I'm putting it at 0. Obviously there may be like little costs here and there. So this is a conservative number, but there is like wiggle room as well. So I'm not spending money on like a traditional wedding invite. I don't really personally care about that. I know some people do, which means I'm not spending any money on postage. Then the ceremony venue. So this is one of the biggest ones, especially from other brides that I've heard. The venue is probably the most expensive. I know someone who is getting married and her venue is $15,000. That is only the venue. It does not include any of the food or anything like that. For one day, $15,000. That is insane. It is this big, beautiful house, and I think she has 80 people for that, but I'm like, holy cow, like that is a lot. This ceremony wedding venue for bricks and mortar, so this is the real number that they give me. It's $2,500 to use the courtyard there. I actually think that that is fair just because it's, if you know bricks and mortar, I think you would understand, but the way that they decorated it and all of the little things that they give you, it's very, the amount of things you would need to do is very minimal. And I think that's like a trend with how I just like my wedding itself. Is like I already kind of want it, you know, I don't want to do too much just because, again, there's a lot going on up here and I can't like add more things to it. So as much as a venue can already be pre-decorated and there's less things that need to be like brought in, the better for me. So I'm not mad about the $2,500. If someone's like, you're gonna get married at bricks and mortar, like I would be very happy about that. Celebrant, I think this is your efficient. I don't know how much they cost. I put 0 for some reason. The reason why I put that is because one of my really good friends, it has officiated a wedding before. So if anything, I can just bring him in and it'll be free. Wedding bands is $5,000. I mentioned earlier Cartier. I am eyeing a band from Cartier, not the love ring, just like their very simple 1895 ring. And my partner also likes it. So that would be roughly $2,500 with taxes like each. So $5,000, which is a big chunk of cash. Next, we have pre-wedding. So we've got the rehearsal dinner. I put that at $0. I am not imagining a rehearsal dinner, but if you are, that I'm sure will add up. And then the makeup trial. This, I'm not sure if I'm going to do. I just put this at $200 just in case. Hairstyling trial, I don't think I'm gonna do that. My hair is pretty simple and I think I know how to style my hair the best out of anyone. I don't think I'm gonna do anything crazy. So I put that at 0. I know that can also be quite expensive. A little emergency kit, I put that at 0. Guest travel accommodations, I put that at $4,200. That is because for this particular wedding that I would be planning, my partner and I are going to bring over his parents and my parents and our families, like immediate families. We both have one sibling each, and we would take care of their accommodations just because they're flying all the way to Vancouver for this. So thinking $4,200 would cover all of that. The reception venue. So this is if I was going to do the reception at bricks and mortar, and if we bought out the space for dinner, that is $4,000. Again, this doesn't include food. This is just to buy out the space. Crazy, that is a lot of money. So that doesn't even include food. Then catering, so this is like the food bit. I put that at $2,200, 10 people, a little bit less than 10 people, which I feel like is doable. Alcohol, I put it at $1,000. We won't have an MC, a band, DJ, or musician. And again, no stationery. So this is like a very simple, intimate wedding with just our immediate family. So we don't need any of those other things, but I can imagine all of these other vendors would cost so much money. A wedding cake, I have a friend who makes wedding cakes, and I'm not 100% sure how much people charge for wedding cakes, but to me, I feel like $150 to $200 makes sense. It wouldn't be like this huge tower or anything. It would just be like a very simple cake. Wedding favors, we will not do that. Photographer, videographer, this I know is expensive. I think I saw someone, I liked their work and I looked at their pricing and it started at $6,000. I have seen people do like 35, so I kind of put 35, though this is likely going to be a lot more. There's no arrival car or getaway car. There's no wedding party car, or there's no like transportation required just because everything would be in downtown Vancouver. No wedding transportation. And then wedding flowers, I put at $400. I got a quote from someone who can do like a bouquet and a boutonniere, and that's like really it. I know wedding flowers and bouquets and just like decorations can be a lot of money, but for this to be just like a very simple. So the next section here is for the bride and the bridesmaid. So makeup and hairstylist the day of, I put at $300. My dress, my wedding dress, I put at $3,000. In theory, I feel like $3,000 is a good amount. Like I don't want to spend an insane amount of money. I also know that you can sell your wedding dress afterwards on other platforms, so that is also an option, but I just put $3,000. In theory, my like ideal is like $2,000 to $5,000. Like if I fall in love with a dress and it's $5,000, like I would make room for that in my budget. but I just put 3,000 here. I'm imagining apparently that this dress would just fit me like a glove. So I put 0 for alterations, which is probably insane, and 0 for dress appointments. Bride accessories, this does not include like veil or anything. I'm imagining all of that cost will be up here in the $3,000. I won't have bridesmaids or anything like that. So no dresses, alterations, or gifts for them, which I know is like such a big part. And this is why the cost adds up, you guys. Like all of these things, all of the like bridesmaid proposals, etc. Like we're not doing any of that. No flower girl outfit or accessories. And then for the groom, I put $1,200. I ran this by my partner and he didn't have any flags with that. So I'm assuming that's the right amount. No groomsmen suits, outfit accessories, or gifts or anything like that. So just $1,200 for the groom. And then post-wedding is wedding night accommodations, day after celebrations, honeymoon, like all of those things are in the spreadsheet already. So this is pre-populated with all of these categories and all the things you might not really think of, that it's already in here. So I just put all of that at $0. I'm thinking about this as just like the day of the wedding and everything leading up to it, not anything after. So I just put all of this at 0. And I just inputted all of the numbers that just popped up in my mind, and some of them that are from what I hear people charge. And that all totaled up to almost $28,000. I was not prepared for that number when I tell you. I was just like putting numbers in there. I don't know. When I was thinking about this wedding, I'm like, I don't want to spend anything more than $10,000. I was so wrong because everything just, honestly, it just added up. $28,000 is a lot of money. And I was shocked at that. And there's even a lot of things that I like didn't fill in or I put at 0 when I might be spending on that, but I just wanted to kind of have a rough estimate or a ballpark. If I go into the summary section of this budget tracker, you will see that a lot, $11,000 of that $28,000 is for the reception, which I feel like can be brought down. So it's nice to see a visual of where the money is going so that you can identify, you and your partner can sit down and talk of like, okay, do we really want to spend X amount on this? The ceremony, $7,500. That's really like the bulk of things. So it's really nice to kind of just see that all in this like little chart here. So with all of that said, you can see why I am very much overwhelmed by this wedding situation, because I think I came in there thinking like, I'm gonna have a small wedding, just my partner and myself and his family and my family, and this should cost no more than $10,000. Here we are. I have a rough estimate of $28,000, and it might even be more if this is the type of wedding that I want. And mind you, this is like 10 people or less, and I cannot even imagine planning a party for 80 people or 100 people. Like, and for people who do it like overseas in Italy and like Como, like that is probably over $60,000 to $70,000, and that is crazy. That is a lot of money for me. I don't know if that's what I want to do. So this budget that I just shared with you is not final. These are the numbers that I inputted last week, and it made me like shut off my computer, if I'm being honest. And I haven't really thought about it much since then. Like, it's not appealing to me to spend that much money. I feel like sometimes, especially in the wedding industry, we've really lost the plot of what a marriage is and what a wedding is. Like, I think sometimes to me, people do it for others and not really for themselves. Or they get engaged because they know that they can plan this big party. Like, to me, that's not the point of a marriage. To me, the point of the marriage is a partnership with another person. And yeah, like I just feel like sometimes we may have lost a plot with all of these things, with like the gifts and all that stuff and the proposals to your bridesmaids. Like, if you did that, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying I'm not going to be doing that. People can do whatever they want. So I hope I didn't offend you at all in any way. I'm just kind of sharing what I am feeling in this moment. This wedding budget may change. It may be completely different when I share with you again, but I just wanted to share what I currently have, what's going on in my brain, because I know some of you guys have been asking for it. So I hope this was a little bit insightful, and sorry if this came off really like complainy or anything. I really hope it was just like a conversation with a friend. If you have any more questions about the wedding, please let me know down below, and I'm happy to share and I'm happy to answer. And I'll also have a link down below to this budget tracker right here. I feel like it was so helpful to just see and understand what costs there are to a wedding. You don't really think about it unless you see it on paper. So to me, at least this was helpful. And if you want it, I will have it linked down below with a 10% discount code to the line. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in my next one. Bye, you guys.